All right.
All right, so welcome. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 memorization course. Does anybody remember what was the DC comic superhero that this chapter is named after?
Yeah. Multiple Man.
Oh, that's from
Different. Superman, I guess.
Superman, yeah. Purushottama means Superman. So welcome. This is Bhagavad Gita. Oh God, my YouTube is going on. Sorry.
Multiple man.
Multiple. So yeah, I've got too many windows open and it's going crazy. You are a bunch of patient sages. I think there's nobody in the waiting room, so we're all set to go. So yeah, the yoga of the supreme person. So Purushottama means Superman. Side question: which Marvel superhero is in the Bhagavatam, second canto? Narada Muni goes to Brahma and he says, I think you're like a spider, man. You create with your own energy and then you pull back all of it into yourself like a web. You pull it back in. Are you the real identity of Spider-Man? And he said, no, that's Krishna. And then about a few chapters later, Brahma he plagiarizes Narada Muni. He says the same glorification to Krishna. He says, "You're like a spider, man." And those are, we got Spider-Man and Superman so far. So, any if anyone can start sharing some other reflections on the verse, anything that stuck out to you. Can everybody hear me well? Nice.
Audible, I can hear you.
Nice. Jason, can you mute when you're not speaking?
Oh,
I see you as the main screen right now, I think. I don't know why it's showing it. Okay. So Urdhvam, Mulam, Ada, Shakam, you can kind of make your own haptic, your own dance, your own visual expression of each word. So Urdhva, what does Urdhva mean? Show me with your hands. Yes. How many, you've probably heard of Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Adha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Mukha is face. So Urdhvam Mulam. Mula is a very important word you hear in Vedic literature. You hear this, it's called Mula mantra. I wonder why. Okay, I'm gonna reset gallery view and then I go to speaker view and it, do you guys see Jason as the speaker? Or do you see me? Okay, I don't know why it's, my computer loves you, Jason. It just shows me on the top, the little icon. Urdhvam Mulam Adha Shakam. So Shaka is branches. Mula, like you might have heard of the word Mula mantra, root mantra, Mula Bandha.
Chandra.
Yes.
Mulam is also related like Muladhara chakra, right?
Yes, root.
Like roots.
Yes.
Words.
So if you're going to make an emoji of this, you can like put Urdhvam and you could put like a emoji of like a sweet potato or something.
Okay.
Write out the verse in emojis. So Urdhvam Mulam Ada Shakam Ashwatam Prahur Avayam. What does Ashwatam mean? Banyan tree. Yes.
Banyan tree.
And did anybody get a chance to read what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said about this word, Ashwatam? Oh, we got an AJ Sullivan coming in. Let's add him in. Welcome, AJ Sullivan. Once he's there, we can give him a hooray, AJ Sullivan. So Ashvatam, does anybody remember there's a dual meaning of that word? You can unmute yourself and if anybody remembers it. Anybody? So for yet the word yesterday in Sanskrit is hyester dina. Dina is day, yesterday is yesterdinaha. And the word for tomorrow is shwa. And when you put an A before a Sanskrit word, oftentimes it flips the meaning. So ashvatam, that place that has no tomorrow. It's impermanent. So the material world is impermanent. It is the place that has no tomorrow. As Srila Prabhupada went lecturing on this verse, he says, this banyan tree you hear, it's described, the whole thing is upside down. It is like what you see on the bank of a lake. You see this reflection of this massive tree. And the root, it's coming from the root from the top, and it's all extending downward. But it's, and what is the, does anybody remember in the purport, what was the root? Anybody? The root was?
Lord
Yes.
Brahma?
Lord Brahma, yes, yeah. Yes, correct. So it's, yeah, it's this analogy will go for a few verses, and it's got a little different components. Welcome, Anya. Okay. So, yeah, Urdhvam Mulam. Maybe we can go into breakout rooms and everyone just give it a shot. Let's all do it together right now. I will repeat it. Everyone can repeat it after me. Urdhvam Mulam.
Urdhva Mulam.
Urdhva Mulam.
Urdhva Mulam.
Urdhva Mulam.
Urdhva Mulam Adashakam.
Urdhva
Urdhva
Mulam.
Mulam Adashakam.
Adashakam.
Urdhva Mulam Adashakam.
Urdhva Mulam.
Mulam Adashakam.
Urdhva Mulam Adashakam.
Urdhva Mulam.
Adashakam.
Matthew, what is the third word?
You would think I would know it since I was.
Urdhvam Mulam Ada
Ada.
Adha. Yeah.
Shakam.
Adha. Yeah. Urdhva is up. Adha is down. I think is there some kind of English equivalent? Urdhva Mulam Adashakam.
Urdhva Mulam Adashakam.
Ashvatam Prahur Avyayam. So let's just say the first word, Ashvatam.
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 Guess I should look at it. Ashvatam.
Ashvatam.
Ashvatam. The word prahur means it is said. It is said. They say, or I usually the way I do it is here. Urdhvam Mulam Ada Shakam. Got my branches. Ashvatam tree. Prahur Avyayam. You do the eternity symbol. And we could do like the hymns. Chandamsi, the hymns. Yasya or let me pull up the. I'm not even looking at it. 1 second. Yasya, which are Parnani, Paranam, the leaves. Yastvam Veda, one that knows this, one who knows this. Savedavit. He knows the Vedas. So let's work on the second half as well. Yeah. Chandamsi.
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 Yasya Parnani.
Yasya Parnani.
What does Parnani mean? Bailey. Leaves, yes. It will help. All this stuff will help. The next verse already has some of the same words. I'll give you an example. Next verse. Let me go up in database.com and you go advanced view and you can take off the you can see all the verses. The next verse has Adash Chachurdvam, down and up. And then it also has Shaka, again has the word branches. So you're already setting yourself up. And then the Adashtamulani, it also has downward facing roots. And so you're already setting yourself up to know, a good percent of the words that are in the second verse. So Urdvam Mulam Adashakam. Everyone can repeat.
Urdva Mulam Atha Shakam.
Urdvam Mulam Adashakam.
Urdva Mulam Atha Shakam.
Ashatam Prahur Avyayam.
Ashvatam Prahur Arvayam.
Does anybody have a particular word that they want to ask? Like, hey, how do I say this?
Chandra,
Yes.
I do want to know if it's Ada or Adaha.
Okay, so that's a very good question. As far as I've learned, I've heard like that old recording does it a little different, that the ladies that are chanting. But as far as I've learned, this dot underneath the H, which becomes like an extension of the vowel before it, aha, ihi, uhu, oho, that is employed when you do the verse. If you see the verse divided into 4 lines, it is the very end of the second line and the very end of the 4th line. Otherwise, it is not used. It's not voiced. So Urdvam Mulam Adha Shakam. As far as I've learned, I'm not like that Nityananda Dasa who studied Sanskrit officially with. But as far as I've learned, and then at pretty much every temple, that's exactly how they chant it. They'll say and usually you see this verse is in 4 lines, but it's written in 2 lines. So at the very end of the 2 lines, which are the very end of line 2 and line 4, if there is I forget what the word is for that letter, then it's used. Like text 5. Text number 5 of this chapter. Nirmana moha jita sangadosha adyatmanitya vinivita kamaha. I think it also deals with the syllables. That's probably one of the reasons. Like urdva mulam adashakam. So that's 8. If we added the adaha, it would make it 9. It would take it out of the 32 syllable count, because it's like it would basically add 4 extra. It would add, if there were several of them, it would just add another syllable. So there you go. That's a reason.
I have
Any
a question
other?
about.
Yes.
I have a question about Ashvatatam. The V sometimes are pronounced as W's. how do we know when to use a V as opposed to a W?
It's kind of just, you can kind of just put them together. Ashwatam. Ashwatam.
Ashwatam.
Yeah.
Ashwatam.
It's
Okay.
like it's not really one or the other, but it's kind of just, it's not so hard on one side or hard on the other.
Okay.
Ashwatam.
Ashwatam.
Yeah.
I had a question, Prabhu. So the 8 syllables, that's like a rule for each one. It should only be 8 syllables.
Well, if
Or is
you
it just for
if we notice verses 2, 3, 4, and 5, they are in a different meter.
right?
Like I said, this chapter, the hardest part is going to be this first part. These first 5 verses are going to be the hardest part. Actually, I mostly 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be the 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be a little harder, or maybe 2, 2 and 3, 2, 3, and 4, because they're just a little bit longer.
So that brings to so the last Yastam Veda Saveda V. How do you end that? Do you end it Vita or just V?
Vit, yeah.
Okay.
There's no A.
Okay.
And it's not, if the sans, let's see, let me pull up the Devanagari.
That's a good question, Troy. I was hearing some recitations where it sounded like there was an A on the end.
Yeah, same.
I'm
That's
looking at the Devanagari, the Sanskrit, and if you even if you don't know, if you look at the last word, if you can see the Devanagari, there's a little line on the bottom, and that line is it's a cutting of the A off the consonant, because all the Sanskrit consonants come with the A. When you add that line, it cuts the A out off. It's not like in modern languages in India, Hindi, Bengali, and such, they cut the A all the time. But this is actual like a letter where they just cut the A. So there's not supposed to be there an A at all in the way it's written in the Sanskrit.
Prabhu, isn't there somewhere, I remember I had a Sri Upanishad in the back, there was like the actual list of like the diacritics and how to pronounce.
Yes.
I don't know where that is though. I don't know. I was just trying to find it.
I can probably, what I'll do is I'll add it to the next email.
Okay.
That we send it out. So Urdvam Mulam Adha Shakam. Urdvam. So we always say, okay, first of all, we can't forget Sri Bhagavad Gita Ch. Urdvam Mulam Adha Shakam. Ashwatam Prahur Avyayam. Chandamsi Yasya Parnani. Yastam Veda Savedavit. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So everyone repeat.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Urdva Mulam Adha Shakam.
Urdva Mulam Adha Shakam.
Urdva Mulam Adha Shakam.
Urdva Mulam Adha Shakam.
Ashwatam Prahur Avyayam.
Ashvatam Prahur Avyayam.
Chandamsya Yasya Parnani.
Chandamsi Yasya Parnani.
Yastam Veda Savedavit.
Yastam Veda Savedavit.
So back to Chris, what does Veda mean?
I have to look. I'm sorry. Veda means
We keep ourselves on our toes.
knows.
Knows, yeah. Knows and knowledge and
No, yeah.
okay. Bailey, what does Prahur mean? Chapu knows it. Come on.
It is said.
It is said, yes. What's the primary meaning of Ashvatam, Troy?
Banyan tree.
I have to look as well. So it is a banyan tree.
Yes. And back to Matthew, what is the secondary meaning?
The secondary meaning of Ashvatam, it is the has to do with not being in the future. It's like not in the past or in the future, something like that.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Exactly.
Tomorrow, it
Today's not
basically means
tomorrow.
it's impermanent.
Impermanent.
It's kind of a paradox, because here avyayam means it's like indestructible, and then ashvatam means it's completely impermanent. So ashva, shva means tomorrow, tam means tishtati, the place, and is opposite. So that place that has no tomorrow. And so, I was going to say that Prabhupada, when lecturing on this, he said, because the tree is upside down, it is an uncomfortable situation. Just like how many of you have done handstand, headstand. You know, you do a 5 minute, 10-minute headstand. Oh, yeah. Just like sweating. It's very, or there's a handstand. And our feet are just built for all kinds of abuse, but our hands, oh my God, a 5-10 minute handstand is really tough. You start sweating, you know. So he said that this world, one of the points is that it's an uncomfortable place. Another point Prabhupada makes in the purport is that it's 180 degrees, meaning that on the other side, what's on the other side of the other 180 degrees? It's similarly another tree-like situation, the source of that reflection, meaning the reality is on the other side. Like I think it's Jiva Goswami, he gives this argument. How many of you heard of the snake and the rope analogy? The common one. The material, it's like a person becomes fearful because they mistake a rope for a snake. Actually, we experienced this in Vrindavan. Some rascal kid who could have been Krishna himself, just playing, messing with us, so some rascal kid in Vrindavan, he was walking, and my wife is terribly afraid of snakes. Terribly afraid of snakes. I don't know if I reacted. I think I might have was able to notice that it was an illusion, but basically the kid had on a stick, he had a tiny little string, and attached to the tiny little string, he had a rope. And he was walking and he was just shaking it behind him. So it looked like a snake was after him, because you couldn't see the tiny thing. You could just see the rope going like that after him. And so one of the points that I think it's Jiva Goswami, he says, I believe it's Jiva Goswami, says, you only mistake things that are of a similar nature. Like you don't see a rope and say, oh, that's a potato, or it's a dog, or it's an elephant. They have to have similar qualities. That's one of, I'm trying to remember some of the, that's one of the points. So meaning that if this world is an illusion, then that illusion is reflecting a reality. Because one of the arguments in personalism is that, yeah, it's just all an illusion, but where did the sense of where did the sense of snake come from? We mistake something as because it had the other thing also exists. So we mistake this world as reality because there is a reality, and this world is, in a sense, like it said, is ashvatam. It's a real thing. The energy is ultimately indestructible. It's avyayam. But it's ashvatam. It's always changing. It's always in a state of impermanence. I recently heard an example like this. What book was I was just reading something? Yeah, this like just imagine we'll give you $1 million, but we'll give it for a millionth of a second. You didn't really have any opportunity to enjoy it. So it's impermanent. It's always in a state of change. So how about we go to breakout rooms and then everyone can kind of recite it to their neighbor and then recite it back. Maybe ask each other what some of the words mean. And you tell me how time is for you. So let's see. How many people do we have here? 12? 11? 11. Oh, I just said 12%. Okay, we'll put 5 breakout rooms. There we go. There we go. Everyone can join a breakout room.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hare Krishna. So how about you guys just
Hi.
just test each other?
Okay. I got cut off. I was outside and the heat shut off my iPad, so I might have missed a little bit, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
We're just reciting text 1, right?
Text 1, yeah. You can read it off, or you could try to maybe say one line with from memory, and then read it, or say another line 1 and 2 from memory. Just repetition with and without help.
Okay. It's like I have to look at it at first.
Yeah. I'm
Sri
gonna have to look.
Bhagavan Uvacha Ordava Mulam Adha Shakam Aswatam Prahur Avyayam.
And then,
Mhm.
so that's how I'm trying to like go with this, is trying to find like a constant meter. But Prabhu here is saying that that's not very likely because the meter changes. So
Yeah.
The second one is going to be the second one. It's kind of, you can do it in a kind of similar meter. It's not too much of a change.
Hmm.
So you guys can recite it together,
Mhm.
looking at the book, or try to do a line or so without the book. Go kind of switch it up from between using a book, not using a book.
Cool.
all right, I will go.
So you can together go back and forth and do it a little bit with the book if you need, and also try to do it without the book. Try to do maybe a line or so without the book. Do it with the book, without the book, like that.
Okay. I'm gonna need the book at first, but okay. Do you want to shoot me with a?
Cool. I
Nice.
mean,
Yeah,
when you
I think I-
say Avyayam, I
That's what I was gonna say. I
say,
screwed that one up.
Avyayam.
So
Right? Is it
try
Avyayam?
try do if you need a little with the book, and then try to do it without the book as well,
Okay.
Yeah.
or even if just one line or so.
Okay.
I'll take the easy one then. Sri Bhagavan Uva.
Yasya Parnani Yasta Veda Sa Veda Vid.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Pretty good, Alex.
Thanks, Matthew.
Is that the first verse you've ever read out loud?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. Some of the a tip that was given to me, well, I guess not a tip, but just the way that Sanskrit words are.
Hmm.
Whenever there's a vowel in the word, that's like a break. That's like when a new syllable starts.
Gotcha. Cool.
Like mulam, it kind of stops at the
Mulam.
prahur,
Rahul.
avyayam, like that. It's like a 3-syllable word.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Did you let's see, well, do you have any questions about any of the words, or do you want to read the translation? I'm not sure what we should do.
So you guys can just repeatedly recite it. Try to say it with the book, and then say it with the book, but then also see how far you can get without the book.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, good. Do you want to go again, Alex?
I guess so. All right. Let me look at it one more time. Sri Bhagavan Uvakan
So that all the C's are cha sounds.
Cha.
Yeah.
Shri
Bonus
Bhagavan
chant too.
Uva Ka. Cha.
Cha.
Cha. Shri Bhagavan.
The easier it is to remember what word is coming next. Like it's like using context clues,
Yeah.
which I was finding helpful with the memorizing.
I missed it. I want to hear. What was your tip?
What was I finding helpful?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I was saying that when we are remembering like the actual meaning of the word, then it's easier to remember the next word that's coming because we're using context clues. You know, like
Ah.
in English reading, we use like context clues to know in a sentence like
Yeah.
what words make sense and don't make sense.
Yeah, and we don't. It's not like we even really look at each word. It's just subconsciously we're picking up stuff when we read.
Well, I was saying that for me, I like signed up for this because I'm really like a Sanskrit slaughterer, you know, like in a class or whatever. And just to like be able to work on pronouncing words was like something I needed to be doing. But memorization has never been like my strong suit.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to figure out how to get better at that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, with practice, this practice will. It's like when my teacher gave class at the Houston Temple, he did this thing that I never really experienced. Sitting in a lot of like Bhagavatam classes, at one point he said, "Okay, what did I just say?" And what? I thought it was good enough that my eyes were open. I didn't know how to actually really pay attention, you know. And he would ask quite often, "Oh, what was the verse about? What was the purport about?" And I felt like one of those old cars where you have that my brain was just getting in this, like it was just being this rusted old machine that was really getting pushed to do some work. But somebody said, well, if someone's older, they can't do that, or if they don't have the ability. He said, everyone has the ability to increase wherever they're at. And somebody might have some great talent at memorizing things. But it is like a muscle that the more we practice it, the easier it will get. And so
When you said, oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say on the last time, the first class, you made the point about the song. And it was just this morning I started to listen to the chapter 15. You sent 2 audio,
Yeah.
but the full of the chapter 15 on SoundCloud. So that I think will be very helpful, because it was like a song. So listening to that this morning was helpful. I still don't have the meter right or the melody, but I think that will come from listening to that.
One common melody is we don't need no education. We don't need no education. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre urdva moolam adashakam ashtratam prahur abhyayam chandam se yasya parnani yastam veda saveda vit. It's like the same melody.
I like that.
Maybe I'll
Can you hear me? I don't know.
Yeah.
If, okay.
I'm just writing that to everyone. You can use it. I even hear like the bass riff right now. Dharma kshetre urdva moolam adashakam. Maybe do you think I should bring everybody back?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, that was fun.
58 seconds.
Yes. Welcome back.
There you go.
You guys see the melody suggestion?
I just saw that. Yeah.
You can use the melody. We don't need no education.
Ah,
Somebody
That's
said,
good.
"Oh, they must have went to India and picked up the melody there because it's the Vedic melody."
Dang,
Urdhva
it does really
mula
work. Yeah.
adashakam.
Ashvatam Prahivalayam. Yeah, interesting.
Ashvatam prahur avyam chandam
That's
siyasya
awesome.
parnani. It kind of works really good with the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre.
That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That was a party.
So, Prabhu, I know
Yes.
we ran into a few words that we were having, so I was
Okay,
having
yeah.
trouble with.
Yes, yes.
So it's I can't get a VIM. Is that right? A VIM?
Oh, that's that one's
Yeah.
and that's a very common word in the Bhagavad Gita. But I
Yeah.
remember the first time trying to say that, and not just the first time, like the 20th time trying to say that, or the 30th time. I was like, oh, but it's a common word, so it's a good one to. So it's avyayam, avyayam,
Avyayam.
avyayam,
So avyayam.
avyayam.
Yeah.
The Y is a consonant, not a vowel, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
yam.
Yeah. And then we were also talking about prahor. Prahor.
Prahur, prahur, yeah.
Prahor.
And practice extending those long vowels.
Okay.
They often help with figuring out the meter too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Also,
That was fun. I
have
like
a
that.
question on that.
Yes.
Prabhu. So the Prahoravyayam, do they ever like
Go together?
yeah, because I've heard it sound like almost as if the R is on
Absolutely.
Avyayam. Okay.
Absolutely. Oftentimes, some difficult verses, like you'll figure out like sometimes there's a Y on the other side, and if you just put them together, the words together. Sometimes it's separated just because they're individual words. Oftentimes if you look at the Sanskrit, they don't even have it separated. Like if you look at verse 2, I'm looking at verse 2 right now, and I'm looking at the third line. The third line only shows two separate words, like the adashcha and mulani and santatani are just written as 1 and 2. They're in the English, they're broken up into 4 parts, but in the Sanskrit they're only broken into looks like 3 parts in the Sanskrit, maybe 2. Looks like 2 parts. They're broken up into just 2 parts in the Sanskrit. So oftentimes, sometimes some verses, if you put the words together, mulani that's not it. But sometimes, sometimes when you put the words together, it makes it a little easier to say them. But yeah.
Hey, Prabhu, this is how I was explaining to Alex, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like the spaces in between the words, I mean, we're so used to reading English, but the spaces in between the words aren't quite as important as we like. The thing to me that I think is important are the lines above the letters, like in Prahor Avyayam, the A is like the Hor Avyayam is like a whole other word, even though it's 2 words.
The long vowels are usually kind of a sign of the rhythm, the particular meter that it's written in. Like sometimes you'll get a long verse, sometimes you'll find like in the Bhagavatam, there's these long verses, and you're like, man, what's the meter for this thing? And then you say one meter it seems like it's about right, but then you notice those long vowels don't really hit the same points. You're like, okay, that doesn't work. So yeah, you're right. The long vowels usually hit a certain kind of metric point. Urdhvamulam adha shakam ashrutam prahur avyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedavid. You can try you can probably find them online, maybe even listen to different lectures, and you can see different ways people say it. But there's a whole assortment of different melodies, and you can figure out what melody is easy for you to remember. There's all kinds of different melodies for this. Anushtup is called, this 32 syllable verse. Basically, all Bhagavad Gita is 32 syllables. If you're if you're got a kind of singing voice, you're good with music, then you might want something very melodious. And but if singing's not your thing, if it's too melodious, it might be too difficult for you to figure it out. Like verse number 2 is this is more of like a melodious way. Adash churdvam prashitashashaka guna pravidya vishaya prabhalaha adashtamulani anusantatani karmanubandini manushaloke. It's kind of like a lullaby, but that might be too hard for people to remember, or where it goes. So adashturvam prashitashashaka guna prabidha vishaya prabha adashtumulani nasantatani karmanubandini manushaloke. You see, that's very similar to the first one. It's not really much of a difference. It's just got like a few extra syllables. So was everybody able to get their reading done?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too much reading, isn't it? It's not too much. To have it done in 2 or 3 days.
What was the reading, Prabhu, for this verse? Just the verse and purport?
I sent an email. What I have is I have the verse and purport, and then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Matthew Seva, renamed Matthew Seva. It's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who's one of the acharyas that wrote a commentary in the Bhagavad Gita 450 years ago, and that's where we got the this Ashvatam, this place of no tomorrow. And there's another one is Baladev Vidyabhushan, which is also from 450 years ago. If you look in the big first page of Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhupada said, I dedicate this book to Baladev Vidyabhushan. And most of the time, Prabhupada is in the Parampara tradition and the disciplic succession tradition. He's just repeating the message, and oftentimes his purports are almost exactly the same as Baladev Vidyabhushan's purports. But oftentimes there's like a new jewel, something that you can find in those. So
a nugget.
Those nectar nugget ananda. So those two are there, and I can't paste it because the pasting doesn't go well. But there's a book that I included in the first email called Surrender Unto Me, and most of the stuff is really short. He might actually just refer to those two books, and he might bring up another point, but that's called Surrender Unto Me, and it's a Bhagavad Gita study guide by Burijan Prabhu.
I have your first email here, Prabhu. So you actually want us to read all the stuff in there? It wasn't just suggested? Like you want to, like that's the idea?
Just read it, yeah. And you don't have to have it memorize every point, but it should be about maybe 15 minutes of reading to get done in 3 days. 10, 15 minutes of reading, maybe 10 to 20 minutes of reading, and you got 2-3 days to do it.
I can do that.
Yeah. And if you like, find a lecture. There's lectures by Srila Prabhupada. You can find some lecture on one of those verses if you like. And then also, who said they listened to the The second recording, the SoundCloud recording, somebody said that was very helpful for them because it's very like more like a song. The one that has everything, it's an hour long, but it's the entire chapter with all the purports.
Nice.
And that's a SoundCloud link.
Hey, all, I shared a site on the chat. You can listen to each verse individually. It's broken down like a calendar. I wouldn't say this isn't like an ISKCON approved site, I wouldn't think. But
I
it's a
think I
good
know.
tool.
Is it blue? Like a blue?
A blue, you mean
Is
the
it blue
color?
background?
The site? Yeah.
I think I know. It has like
think so.
Ramanujacharya's
It's
commentary.
Swami Mukunda Nanda.
I know one website where you can click and you can get also Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya is another great Vaishnavacharya. Yeah, any website that just doesn't go like in chapter 15 is very specific and it really refutes impersonalism. The verse 16, he says there are two types of souls, the liberated and the conditioned.
Yeah.
And in the 17th verse, he says, and then besides these two, then there's me, there's God. He's above all of them. Because the more the impersonalist conception is like if you're liberated, then you're God. But then in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, no, there's liberated the condition, then there's the Superman. So yeah, any good theistic tradition would. So any other, should we stop here? Anybody else want to share anything? Let me see if I have it. I'll just look at my notes real quick. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 1. There's also a really cool story of a book called Gita Mahatmya. Anybody heard of Gita Mahatmya? I got Clayton's heard of it. Gita Mahatmya is a really cool book. It comes from a larger book called the Padma Purana, which is huge. Padma Purana is bigger than the Bhagavatam. It's like really, really big. But Gita Mahatmya is Lord Shiva is sharing with his wife stories about how somebody was miraculously liberated just by coming in contact with the Bhagavad Gita. And I will tell you one story. There was, I got to make sure I don't get it mixed up. This is not for chapter 15. Each chapter has its own story. So there was this one priest who he was a very talented musician. And he became sort of a rock star. And he became employed by the king. And the king was kind of a degraded man, and all together they just kind of delved into darkness. He just became a rock star and became absorbed in money and sex and whatever. And he married this lady who was also this very low in her behavior. And so one day this musician, this born priest musician, he learned that his wife had cheated on him. And then she also learned that he was aware, so she decided to kill him, and she killed him. And then later that lady died of venereal diseases. This is how in the book itself. They were in their next life. She was born as a parrot, and first they had some karmic reactions, and then she was born as a parrot, and he was born as a vulture. And as a vulture, for some reason, so for some kind of special situation, he was able to remember, man, this lady, this is the one that killed me in my previous life. And so he was just like, I'm trying to kill her. And so this vulture was just chasing this parrot around, just trying to kill it. And there was a hunter in the forest watching the scene. He said, okay, this is a good opportunity. So he took his bow and arrow, and I think he shot both of them. And they fell down, and there was, in the forest, there was a human skull on the forest floor near the bottom of the tree. And due to the monsoon rain, the skull was an old human skull, and it had some water in it. And both of their heads fell down into that water. Then they died. And as they did before, they went before the god of death, Yamaraj. And they're like, oh, well, what's going to happen to us now? They said, oh, you guys are free from all karmic sins, and you're going to the spiritual world. And they're like, what happened? Why? We're just trying to kill each other. That's all we're doing. They said, well, you touched the water of that skull. And that was a sage who chanted the Bhagavad Gita every day. Such and such chapter. And just by touching that water, the water of his skull. I mean, usually skulls are not considered like purified. Just by touching that water, you're free from all sin. You want to hear another one? Want to hear another one? Okay, this is another one. So yeah, a lot of times it's like, sometimes it's these priests who really like abandon their path. So there was, I think he was a businessman or a priest, but he was very miserly, and he is just greedy and miserly. And his next life, he was born as a bull that was sold to a crippled man. And this crippled man would really work this bull basically to death. He was just overworked it. And one day the bull, underneath the overburdened load, collapsed in the marketplace, and just give up its body. And the people of the village came out, and they felt so bad for the bull, and they all started to offer prayers. They said, oh Lord, if I've done anything good in my life, please give some credit. Give some of my good punya, my pious karma. Please give it to this bull, because he's suffering piteously. And there was one prostitute there, and she said, wow. She said, everyone else is doing it, so I'm going to do it. So she offered also. So I don't know if I did anything, just working as a prostitute, but if I ever done anything that's some good karma, like please share it with this bull. So the bull died, and he went to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj said, actually, your karma is free due to the merit of of a prostitute. You will now take birth in a priest family. And so he took birth as a priest family, but he could remember his past life. So when he was a young man, he went to find that prostitute. And he said, hey, what did you do? Because I was that bull, 15, 20 years ago. I was that bull. And you saved me from all my karmic debt. And she said, well, I don't know. I have this parrot. And it sings something, and I like to sing it too. And so he went to ask the parrot. This is like in different yugas where, parrots could do more than just repeat. They could talk. Different ages. And she said, I sing it. I feel really good. I just sing whatever this parrot sings. I just sing along, And so he asked the parrot. She said, actually, I was born an orphan, but then some sages found me, and I learned to chant such and such chapter. I don't know what chapter that one's associated with, of the Bhagavad Gita. And one day some hunters caught me and sold me to this prostitute, and I've been singing that chapter since. So yeah, there's all kinds of miraculous stories, these Gita Mahatmyas, of people who chanted a chapter. Some of them one of them accidentally chanted 1/4 of a verse of the Bhagavad Gita. And there were a husband and wife that were in a ghostly form, and they were immediately free from their ghostly bodies because they accidentally chanted verse. It's chapter 8. I think it's verse 1, where Arjuna asked Krishna, "What is karma?" He says, "Oh, supreme person, what is karma? What is material nature?" Something like that. He asked something like that, and the wife said, "How can we get out of this ghostly form?" She said, "Oh," she asked her husband, and he said, "Oh, you have to know what is karma." And she said, "Oh, Prabhu, what is karma? What is this? What's this? What's that?" And then immediately they were freed because she accidentally, using her own native language of Sanskrit, chanted a verse, 1/4 of a verse. So a lot of very great potencies. Well, we've been here for quite some time, longer than expected. Thank you all for your participation. And as rusty as you might feel yourself on this first verse, next Wednesday we'll do 1 and 2 together. We'll repeat. So practice. You do your reading, but also just keep on trying to figure out how to say it, to put it all together, and just keep on reciting it. And on class number 5 or class number 6, we'll be doing verse number 5. I'm sure verse number 1, you guys are going to have it solid. So don't worry if it feels rusty now. So, whoop, whoop. So yeah, this first verse, yeah. Who was saying by some of the words by context? It helps. Somebody want to share something? There was I think that was Anya. It was Anya. She shared.
Hare Krishna. I was just thanks. I was just saying
the
that.
Roddy back there. That's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I was saying that learning the meanings of the words in Sanskrit is helpful for the memorization because we're able to use the context clues for what the next couple words will be in our minds. Like, the sentence doesn't make sense if you're not using the right words, so it's easier to kind of connect all of the words together when you're understanding what the words mean and not just memorizing the Sanskrit shloka with no context to what it means.
And also try to not to say not to memorize the English, but try to get make sure you understand the whole thing all together. Look at the translation, and then understand the words well in such a way that you can, if you can't say that translation directly, say it in your own words, but make sure that you're being consistent with the translation. That's it doesn't have to be. You don't have to. It's nice to say it in the exact English translation. That's nice. But if you can just know the word, what they mean, and then know what it's meant to convey, that's very practical. So call up a friend once you got it down and say, "Hey, can I recite to you my verse? I'm doing this thing. Can I tell it to you?" They'll be like, "What? That's so far out. You're speaking a 5,000-year-old language." Yeah, and I can tell you what the words mean too. So yeah, call up a friend. Say, "Hey, for my practice, for my homework, I got to share this with somebody." And yeah, you can share some points too. And Chapu is offering her services. You can call her, and call her on Discord, and just keep on trying. Anything else? We're all good. Okay. Well, thanks. Thank you very much.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Tat sat.
Thanks for your
Prabhu,
service.
Hare
Krishna.
Prabhu, I saw your
Haribo.
message
Hare
too
Hare
late.
Krishna.
Yes.
Krishna.